I'm ready for the flat attack. That's not flat attack. What the hell? That's not flat attack. Bro, what? That's a lot of max rolls. What the hell? I mean, okay. Yeah. That's fine. You know what? I'll take that. That's 4 max rolls of crit damage. I don't think I have a single artifact on my main account with this much crit damage. Actually. What the fuck? What? That's 45 CV as a 3-liner. How is Zibai without Columbina? She's like Flins without Ineffa. I mean, yes, but Flins without Ineffa is a lot better with Columbina. So, like, that's not helpful for someone who's not aware of how good Columbina is, right? She's like somewhere in between release Kanich and current Kanich, basically. But, like, we're still talking about her good teams without Columbina. We're not talking about you just started and you only have enough primos to get one of them. If you just started and you only have primos to get one of them, it's a little bit more cooked. Also, I haven't calced Kanich with Columbina yet, but that might be better. There is a chance that's just better. It was V1 calcs, but I saw Zibai had a 154k 1-cost team. No, that's not true. She did not have a 154k team without Columbina. But also, in V1, we didn't know yet that her Ascension passive was an additive damage source rather than a motion value. So, it was already a little bit worse than that. And also, in V1, like, V1 calcs are always a little sus because we don't have, like, proper rotation footage yet. Her animations are like... It's not that her animations are slow, it's that her, like, waiting for whatever it's called, her resource, I forgot what the name is like, a little cooked. Let me actually take a look at the latest Zibai team that was posted. Right? And if I take a look at... That's a fucking Navia team? Why is it a Navia team? Okay, it's just off-field Navia for Geo app. Okay, bad. Yeah, so, like, they swap into Zibai at 7 seconds. Oh, that's not... Yeah. They swap into Zibai at 7 seconds, and they swap out of Zibai at 21. Alright, so that's 14 seconds of field time just on her. Does an account need to have a DPS of every element? Mine lacks Geo, and I don't want to get Zibai. Not necessarily, right? What you want is ways of dealing with any boss that they might put in Stygian. But generally, even the, like, shells have a way to deal with them without having necessarily a carry of that element, right? If anything, I'd say having one lunar carry is a lot more important than having one geo carry. Because the lunar shell is kind of rough. It's a lot more rough than the elemental shell. But, like, if we look at the Stygian history, right? If we look at the shell bosses that we've had, right? First one was this one, Cryo Shell Boss. But it was pretty doable with some Pyro carries just using Cryo supports, right? So it wasn't about having necessarily a Cryo carry, it was just about having Cryo units that were good. Right, then we had this one, which was mainly Electro carries or Hydro carry, but just, it was like mainly Electro charge, but like you could fucking do this shit with like any Electro or Hydro carry pretty much. Even fucking Molani could do that, right? This one was probably the worst boss for like elemental shilling so far, but it had less HP, so it wasn't that bad. And you could do it with fucking 4-star Hyper Blue, right? This one was also kind of Hydro and Electro, but like getting Hydro or Electro isn't that bad, right? Like that's 2 elements. That's twice as many as 1. And then none of these bosses were like element specific. And here, right? Yeah, it shills like Cryo and Dendro carries. But you can do this with Hydro carries too, and you can do it with Electro carries too, right? This one chills pyro carries, kinda, but not really, right? It's just about having a unit that can break the shield, really. And then for the next one, this one might be rough without a hydro carry, actually. Because that's a lot of HP and a big shield. So maybe you're cooked for the next one, actually, if you don't have hydro. But Skirk can probably brute force this, right? Maybe. Yeah, Skirk can probably brute force this, honestly. Like, this shit scares me a lot more, honestly. As a returning free-to-play player, which Nod-Krai team should I get between Flins and Zibai? I'd say that it depends on how many primos you had. I would say that if you're planning on not getting Columbina, and you only have enough primos for one 5-star, you should not get either of them. You should get one of the supports, so either Llama or Ineffa. Or honestly, just Columbina by herself, I guess, but I'd lean more towards Ineffa or Llama than Columbina by herself. If you have enough for 2, you can consider doing Zibai Columbina. I'm not sure I'd necessarily recommend getting Flynn's Columbina without Ineffa. I think that's a little sus. You could get Ineffa Columbina, though. If I have enough for 3, you can think about doing Flynn's Ineffa Columbina. The biggest issue I have with that is that Flynn's is a little bit of a fraud, right? Like, he's not going to compete with Zibai or... Yeah, he's not going to compete with Zibai unless you also have Ineffa. And if you're willing to get 2 5-stars, Flynn's and Ineffa, you would likely see much better results getting a Constellation on Columbina or getting a Constellation even on Ineffa, honestly. Or getting a Sig weapon over actually getting Flynn's for that team. If you want to have a proper dedicated carry, I think I would lean a little bit more towards Zibai than Flynn's. And if not, honestly, just don't get either of them. I think that the best way to make your account stronger going forward with 2 5-star pulls dedicated to lunar teams is Columbina plus one of the supports. So either Llama or Ineffa. I will also say Geo gets countered way less often than Electro. It does not. Like, it does, but it doesn't. It's not that Geo gets countered less often. It's that current Geo characters don't get countered easily. But as long as the enemy doesn't allow you to apply Hydro properly, Zibai doesn't fucking work. So that's not true. Also, there's a lot more enemies that have random Geo resistance than any other resistance. Physical and Geo are like, for some reason, half the enemies in the game just have a random 70% resistance to them. It's really funny. Isn't that the case for Flynn's too, though? Yeah, but the point I'm making is she's not more resilient to it. I guess technically she's not as bad as Flynn's when your Hydro doesn't work, but like you don't want to play either of them when Hydro doesn't work, right? So it doesn't matter which one is worse if both of them suck ass. Hey Zaj, C0R0 Columbina and C0R0 Ineffa on a Flynn's team. Columbina always on SMS, right? Kinda. One thing that you can consider is that you don't necessarily need to have one of them on a damage set. You could just have one more support set if you want to use like TOM or something. Because having Dawn, or whatever the set is called, I think its name isn't actually Dawn, that was just an early league, but I keep calling it Dawn, so I think I'm making people confused. I gotta call it by its actual name. It's like Morningstar. I think Morningstar on the team isn't that important. Because unlike Sky and Serenade, it doesn't give you a team-wide buff. Right? It doesn't give you a 10% reaction buff to the team. And you're already pretty saturated in the stat it gives you on Ineffa. Or on Columbina if you're using it on her. So as much as it is good, it's not like necessarily that much better than having one more support set. It is better, but it's not like that much better. And if you like Flynn's a lot and you want to have him do more damage, he will do more damage if you have one more support set, right? Columbina is always on SMS no matter what team you're using her. That's not necessarily true. In Zibai teams, you'd rather have her on a damage set because you don't have enough good support sets to give support sets other than Serenade to your other characters. And in Columbina carry teams, you generally go Sky if you can. Right. But like as a general rule, Columbina on Serenade. But if you're playing her on the Zibai team, you go Dawn, and if you're playing her as a carry, you go Sky. Dawn. Morningstar, not Dawn. Whatever. You know what I mean.